Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kaja May, and welcome to Game Over Vancouver. The Vancouver Canucks just lost 6-5 in overtime to Jacob Vrana and the St. Louis Blues. Jacob Vrana's a St. Louis Blue. Anyway, before we get into talking about that, I have a little message from Sports Interaction. It's March Mania at Sports Interaction, NHL, NBA, March Madness, MLB, and so much more. It's bananas. Play Pinata Picks and Minute Madness, exclusive games with insane odds you can't play anywhere else. Make your next bet with Sports Interaction. Download the app in Ontario, use the QR code you see at the bottom of the screen, or head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Now, I am being joined by a friend of the show. You all know him, you all love him. Hello, Lachlan, how are you?
Kaya, it has been one interesting evening watching the Canucks because they can't seem to satisfy anybody at this point.
You can't seem to satisfy Rick Tocchet, the refs, apparently, and especially the fans. We are going to get into the whole anti-tank movement that the Vancouver Canucks are kind of on. But before we get into that, let's go through the game. It was bookended, kind of, by Quinn Hughes' goals for the Canucks. Bookended by Quinn Hughes in the sense also in overtime that he was not there when Verona scored, and potentially his skate blade is to blame for the fact that we got 1 point.
I mean, MVP of the game clearly goes to that skate blade. Because man, it's like the biggest thing that I've been talking about like over the last few weeks and everything is like forgetting all of the like tank stuff, the playoff stuff. Watching Quinn Hughes play 28 minutes tonight. He played nearly 30 minutes, so almost half the hockey game, basically half the hockey game. It is so alarming to me on so many levels because I fully remember what happened last year when Bruce Boudreau overplayed Thatcher Demko into the ground and injured him in the last like week and a half of the season. And then he started out of the gate slow and it torpedoed this year. So like whenever they're talking about like, that what we do here plays into next season, I'm like, yeah, if you injure Quinn Hughes and like severely in the last half of the season from fatigue, and he misses the first like month or two of the next season. Yeah, you're right. That will bleed into next year. So I don't understand the thought process and the logic going into those moves right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's good kind of that we got Hronek to kind of take I mean, also he's a right defenseman, but taking kind of some pressure off of Quinn Hughes for minutes, I guess, as a more, I don't want to say elite defenseman capability, because that's what Quinn Hughes is, but I haven't seen enough.
A more capable defenseman,
capable,
maybe.
Yeah. Better than we put on Myers in overtime, which is still like the worst decision I think you could make. He was helpful on the second Kuzmenko goal, don't get me wrong.
True.
But
very, very true.
Very helpful. Everyone is Tage Thompson, just reincarnate, or Tage Thompson is reincarnate of Tyler Myers.
Yeah, I mean, I've said before that I think like one of my like long-term theories is that Tyler Myers wanted to be, I've always said that like Tyler Myers has the energy of when he was a kid, he wanted to be a forward, but some coach was like, no, you're too tall. You're too tall. So you're going to be a defenseman instead. With like, that's always the vibe I've gotten from Tyler Myers is somebody who wanted to be a forward when he was younger, but was told he was too tall to be, essentially like the polar opposite of, oh, you can't be a defenseman, you're too short, right?
That makes me sad now.
I mean, it's sad, but it's also like one of those things that like nowadays you don't see as much. Like because that has been a thing for a long time. Like people, I think I've said before, like as an example, like I think like people have said like Mitch Marner should have been a defenseman. It would have been a great defenseman if he had been let.
Played defense a couple times, I think. In the season, yeah.
And I think there are a bunch of other players too that are like that as well, like in the league. But just because like older generation of coaches based a lot of their what position you were based on how tall or how big you were.
Daryl Sutter.
So yeah, yes, exactly. Daryl Sutter. And Tyler Myers definitely to me is one of those guys. I'm like, you definitely wanted to be a winger in when you were playing like 12 and under, didn't you? Like
Poor time. I would say poor. I was gonna say poor little time, but I guess he still wouldn't be little then. But
yeah,
like he'd be a kid, but he'd be like a kid
height.
that's he'd be like
he's Will Ferrell in Elf. Like just clearly like double the size of everybody else. His head was always sticking out of every picture, like class picture.
Gosh.
Yes, that was Tyler Myers.
Yeah, that was the. I don't remember what goal it was on, but there was one goal where they scored and Myers got an assist or something. I don't remember whose goal it was, but his head was cut off. Like in the frame, his head was cut off. I think.
Oh, that was Garland's goal. Because Garland's the shortest one.
That makes sense. That makes sense then why he was cut off. You know, height difference. Speaking, let's go back to Quinn Hughes. You know, the guy who might be injured soon. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But the way this season is going for the Canucks, you can never expect anything that's going on.
Yeah.
Except for I guess Boudreau getting fired.
Yeah, you in a way you almost like it's almost a mixture of both. Like what you can expect is the unexpected kind of, right? Like this is again, like the thing with Hughes and everything is that they're at a point in the season right now where regardless of how you feel about what direction the team should be going at this point, there's literally nothing to gain from playing Quinn Hughes this much, really, besides like upping their personal point totals.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, right now, especially considering the language that Tocchet was using when he got hired, they were supposed to be using this time to like give some of the guys who aren't necessarily named Quinn Hughes a chance to kind of like play in some bigger opportunities and take on some bigger responsibilities. And they very clearly not been doing that by when they're playing one guy 28 minutes a night in a game that again they're not going to make the playoffs. They're nowhere close. I think they're still 11 points out from like the second wild card. There's no way they're getting there. And so there's no benefit to playing guys into the ground this way, because when it comes to next season, are you going to do that? I'm hoping not. I'm hoping they're not planning to play Quinn Hughes 28 minutes a night for an entire 82 game regular season, because he won't make it through that long. And again, that's the thing that bothers me the most. And that goes as well for like Miller and Pettersson, who are all playing fantastic hockey. And it's hard to like deny them ice time per se, but I'm always just like, oh, but like you're risking so much of their health long-term. If by doing this, you really should just scale it back just a little bit and give some of the younger guys a chance to like step up.
Yeah, especially like what you said about Miller and Pettersson. When I think about long time for Miller and Pettersson, Miller is here for a long time. We signed him to a long-term deal, so you're jeopardizing the rest of that contract by overplaying him now. We are still 11 points out of a playoff spot. We're tied with St. Louis for points right now. We have the exact same record.
Yeah.
Like 34-6 with 74 games played. Is
it really? It is exactly
the same. That's we have the exact same goals for as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Or no, goals against. I can't read.
Yeah. Now, thankfully, the Blues have us beat in regulation wins. So they have 25, Canucks have 22. So they win the tiebreaker. If you want to look on the bright side here, the Canucks are now bottom 5 in the West, which is a good thing.
Yes. We're 24th in 24 the league.
You can get I think it is mathematically impossible that they can get to the bottom, but
like San Jose and Columbus are too bad. But
yeah, they're incredibly good at being bad. It's something to behold. But you can get past a few of these guys. You totally can. You just gotta
won 7-4 tonight.
Detroit won
without their coach
for half the game. That's right. Off of that bogus goalie interference penalty or wave. Like that was like
That
the
was so
call that should not have been a goal.
like
Uh,
I would feel bad if the Penguins didn't make the playoffs this year because like the history of Crosby and Malkin and Letang and all that. But at the same time, that should not have been a goal. And they still lost the game anyway. So
yeah, it should not have been a goal. I mean, I'll say I kind of am interested in the idea of what happens when the Penguins miss the playoffs, just to see what would
yeah,
happen in the offseason from that.
they rehired Jim
Uh,
Rutherford.
they take him back. Uno reverse card. Because I mean, like Ron Hextall hasn't done anything for that team.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, there's just like the Canucks there is a window where they can at least get far enough down into like the Montreal Arizona area, like they're which would be huge for them. And that's like literally the worst thing that the Canucks could do right now is fall out of that top 11 and into a spot where they have no shot at Bedard, because like how does that benefit you in any way as a franchise, as an organization, to miss the playoffs entirely at like to a point where it's not even close, and then also screw yourself out of the best pick in the draft? Like it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, Philadelphia's on a 4-game win streak and they're 4 games behind us. Or 4 games? They have a game in hand and they're 4 points behind us. So
Believe we just got to believe there's room there. I think they're playing Calgary on Friday. I think they play Calgary twice in the last like week or so, and I think they play Arizona crucially a couple times, who
they
already beat them.
Canadians today 3-2.
Yeah, the Flyers, yeah. And then with they play Arizona at least one more time. Like there's some real like ground to be made back up here if you're lucky. You just gotta kind of put yourself in the right spot here. I think Calgary is beating Vegas right now, or at least they're in a close game with Vegas right now.
Really?
So yeah, they are leading 2-1 after the second period. So that
Okay.
or sorry, LA, not Vegas, my bad.
Oh, right, yeah.
But yeah, like there's a window there. You just gotta believe, and also believe in the coach to not play Quinn Hughes 28 minutes a night.
Rick, please just listen to somebody. He's not gonna listen to me because I'm a woman, but
Oh my god.
sorry.
Oh my god. I don't know Rick talking on that level, but oh god.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it at all.
I just it's old hockey man. Just
it's a legitimate expectation, unfortunately.
yeah. Oh, this sport is terrible. Anyway,
but enough about the Pride Night fiascos.
oh my gosh, they still haven't released anything yet.
Yeah. I think not to take us completely off topic, but like I do believe a musician has said that they're going to be there as part of the Pride Night festivity. So there is some confirmation they're doing something.
Blackhawks just lost 4-1.
Blackhawks just lost 4-1. I mean, against Dallas, yeah, that was about a given. I think.
Yeah, but how do we keep beating Dallas? Like that's the one team that no matter what happens, we've won 6 in a row against them.
It's really interesting. I've always kind of like half jokingly, I've always said that like hockey is almost like rock paper scissors at points, where like there can be a team that on paper should not beat in any way, shape, or form, but no matter what, you just happen to be the paper to their rock for some reason. And for a long time that was the Canucks with the Blues when they were like when they won the cup. And at the time Dallas was the opposite, where no matter what they did, Dallas just kept beating the Canucks over and over again. And like there was the point where it came down to the Canucks were either going to play St. Louis or Dallas in that like the bubble, and I was like, you want the Blues? They can beat the Blues. They can't beat Dallas for no good reason.
And Dallas ended up going to the finals that year too. So
exactly. So yeah, they lucked out getting St. Louis. That was at the time the Canucks were the paper to the Blues rock, and it worked. But yeah, like that's the Canucks right now with Dallas. Like for some reason, I mean, to be fair, they're also keep playing the backup goaltender rather than Jake Ottinger, who is basically all the stars have, really, when you get right down to
Yeah.
it. It's Jason Robertson, it's Jake Ottinger, and that's it.
I mean,
I
Ben's had
mean,
a decent season.
like they've had don't get me wrong, they've had some really good
Rupe
key
Hintz,
performances from players. It like Rupe Hintz for sure.
Miro
But like
Heiskanen.
yeah, exactly. But like watching them play the Canucks and like how completely like they didn't even look like they stood a chance against Vancouver. And it's like without Jake Ottinger and net. And I was just like, is this a playoff team? Is this really your best team?
This
Like,
is the team. Oh wait, no, never mind.
they
They've
were
fallen.
they were
They were
leading the
first.
division
They
for a
were
while.
first, and
I mean,
now they're. I mean, they could very well get there, but they're
true.
3 points behind Minnesota for first, and they're also behind Colorado. So
A Pete DeBoer team being underwhelming, I'm shocked.
oh my gosh. Just watch they miss the playoffs completely overall.
Yeah. I mean, the West is wonky. It's not entirely out of the question.
Yeah, the West makes absolutely no sense, and I kind of love it and also kind of hate it.
For sure.
In this game specifically against the Blues, there were a lot of bad turnovers. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, the Canucks as a group looked pretty sluggish for the most part of that game. Like, I don't think, like, it's hard to pick out like a player that looked particularly good up until the end there when you had Quinn Hughes kind of like taking over again off of all the ice time he was getting, and then Elias Pettersson setting up Andrei Kuzmenko for that gorgeous goal. Like that in itself was fun. Like that was an awesome like setup to watch. And it, especially made funny by watching Jordan Binnington just absolutely give up on the shot, which he does all the time. I've never seen anything like it. He is terrible when it comes to like second chance shots. He just gives up immediately. It is so pathetic. But like that is but like that's the Canucks. Like they've really like they have this magic ability right now where they can have a terrible night. Like they looked like the Canucks from the beginning of the season for the majority of that game.
Yeah.
And then just out of nowhere, they're like, okay, I guess we have to kind of put together a late rally here. And they did it to their credit. Like it's a very interesting team on that level. Like there was, again, like it was hard to pick out anybody other than those guys who looked particularly good. And again, that took long time to get to that point for both those teams.
Yeah. The Vancouver Canucks are a story that just keeps going when you want it to stop. It's like I'm trying to think of a really long book, like Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows.
The Wheel of Time, as a book series I know my mom has read. That's like every book is like 2,000 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's
Hell?
it's insane. And there's like it was so long. Oh no, I'm taking everyone on book corner. The Wheel of Time series took so long that the original author died before finishing the series, so they had to get another author to finish like the last 3 books.
Yeah. I know who this is. I know what series this is.
Yeah,
it's a fantasy.
It's a fantasy.
Yeah.
It's a fantasy series. I've never read it because as much as I like reading, I'm not reading I'm not reading that level of book. That sounds way too long.
I've seen the books. They're like super, super thick. So
yeah, they are. My mom used to like listen to them on audiobooks, and they would be like days worth of like they would take days to finish in terms of like the actual amount of recording, like, and somebody had to sit in the booth and narrate that whole book, which is insane.
I mean, I hope they got the bag, but
I'm sure they did.
Yeah. No, and like another series that just keeps on like, do you know what the After series is?
I do not.
Okay, so it was basically Harry Styles fan fiction that got turned into an actual book series, and now there's 5 movies. And they're all terrible. They're all on Netflix. So go make your own judgments. I saw the 4th one in theaters, and it was the best experience of my life.
You saw the 4th one in theaters?
Okay, it was when Cineplex had like $3 movie tickets last summer.
You paid $3?
I paid $3 to watch it, and I have no regrets. I have
watch
no
that.
regrets. It was so funny because it was me and my friend, and there were like two girls that were in front of us that were around the same age as us, and we were all just like making fun of the movie. But down the row, there was like an older woman with like her husband, I guess. I don't know why she
Oh
would
no.
bring him, but they're sitting there and like they kept glaring at us, like, because
Like
we were like
they're ruining
laughing.
my day at the legitimate theater.
Legitimate theater. This is a Wattpad fan fiction. Anyway.
That's honestly that is true though. Like there are movies that are so bad they're amazing because you just like dump on them for the entire time you're watching. Like that I can't argue with that logic.
Yeah.
That's sound logic.
Um, Back to the Canucks
Back
from
to the
Harry Styles
Canucks.
fan fiction. Yeah, the Canucks. People say the NHL is scripted. If the NHL was scripted, why are the Vancouver Canucks here? They're doing everything completely against the books.
Oh, but that makes the most sense of all. There has to be one character that's scripted that does the absolute worst thing they could possibly do for themselves at every single point in time, right?
Okay,
Like there's
then how is that not the Philadelphia Flyers? I need to remind you, their coach is John Tortorella. Travis Konechny plays for them, and their mascot is like a certified war criminal in canon, I think. So, like,
I think well that's the thing Gritty is a protagonist. You have to give him the ability to like make the playoffs at some point.
yeah, I want Gritty. I want Gritty in the playoffs, but I don't want the Philadelphia Flyers in the playoffs.
That's fair. That's a fair gripe.
Yeah, I don't like Philly, but I do love Gritty. Like
I have
that's my balance.
outside of Gritty, honestly, the Flyers are one of those teams that I just don't have any sort of like real opinion on. Like I'm just like they're a team.
Their
They have
jerseys
no
are
impact.
orange.
Their jerseys are orange, and I don't care. Like they don't impact the Canucks in any way, shape, or form. Like
Fair. I just think they're annoying, and I don't like John Tortorella. So
that's true.
yeah,
That's fair. That's a fair gripe for
yeah, it
sure.
just gives me flashbacks to 2014 Heritage Classic.
Ah, God, my
And
least
I'm
favorite
11
game.
again.
Yeah, there you
Uh,
go. God, 11. God, I was like,
yeah,
how old was I? I think I was searching through my memory banks for how old I would have been in 2014. I would have been 17, 16, 16, 16.
16.
Just
Yeah,
just a terrible time.
just a terrible time to exist.
Yeah, for the teenager reasons and for the hockey reasons.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's certainly been really fun because I grew up with like the Sedins being good and the Canucks being really good. And then ever since I gained, being a preteen, everything has been terrible.
Oh my, yeah, that isn't that the best? Don't you just love when by the time you're cognizant of like the actual like amount of work and time it takes to like win at the NHL level, that's when your team turns to absolute garbage and there's nothing you can do about it.
Once you're allowed to stay up to watch the entire game, when it's not the playoffs, because I remember when the Canucks got to the playoffs, I was always so excited because that meant I could stay up and watch the game until like 10.
That's so, oh my God, that was me during the first Luongo year. Was my like one of my last years where like my mom wouldn't let me stay up for the whole game because it was like the game again, or like they were going to, but like there that was the Luongo's first playoff game, was the one that went to quadruple overtime at like 1:30 in the
Oh
morning. And
yeah.
I think they sent me to bed after like OT3. They're like, okay, now you got to go to bed, and then they watch the rest of the game without me.
Oh my gosh.
But like, yeah, that takes me back. Hockey, being a hockey fan was much simpler. It was a much simpler time.
It's much simpler when you don't think of anything. And then when you're watching this team now and you're like, oh, we have how many shorthanded goals? And we had 18 straight penalty kills and we're still last in the league. Like, we broke
Yeah,
the streak.
yeah,
Thanks to Robert Thomas. But yeah.
yeah. It's really, it is such a like a hard 180 to like go from being just like a normal fan watching the games and like enjoying them for what they are to like doing like media stuff and going like being, there's like that small party, that's that part of your head that's like, they're gonna win someday. I just know it. But then there's the larger part of your brain that's like, you're probably not gonna see them win anything ever.
Yeah,
Like,
because I feel like with all these teams that have so many cups, you have to bring it into perspective of like, there were 6 teams in the league and you had to win like 8 games literally to get the Stanley Cup. And like, there's other stories of like the dynasties of the 1980s and the 90s and like even up till the early 2000s. Now there's 32 teams in this league. It's really hard to get from 32 to 1. So, especially when you're the Vancouver Canucks and just not good.
and you do everything in your power to limit your chance at winning as possible.
Yes. I this team is, it's just a sigh. It's a heavy sigh is what I get from this game. I thought it was going to be a complete blowout. I was like, okay, here we go. Another 5-2 game, and then Besser scores late in the second. And I'm like, okay, maybe we can bring this back. And then I thought it was going to end at 5-4 again, to
I
be
thought
completely honest.
I thought so too. But again, as soon as the empty netter didn't go through, like their the Blues empty net chance didn't go through, I was pretty much in the sense of, okay, there's only one way this ends, and that's by tying the game and going to OT. There was no other option by that point.
Yeah, like, there's going to be an overtime period, and whatever happens, the Canucks get a point and go higher up in the standings, which a lot of people don't like. Um, but, can't help that. Just as we hit this sort of midpoint, like, subscribe down to STPN. You can find me at RealKayame on Twitter. You can find Lachlan at LockInTheCrease on Twitter. And yeah, I have to bring up an issue I have with the St. Louis Blues.
Okay.
They still have an organ in their arena.
That's an issue for you?
It's an issue for me. I can understand it. I can deal with it when it's like, silence in between, or if there's a goal review, you have to like make time, just make it not sound completely dead in the arena. I get it. But when after your team scores, there's a goal horn, and then it's the organ, and then it's a goal song? Like, is that your order of operations? That makes no sense to me.
Well, they are the Blues. You have to have some
Okay.
sort of, you got to have some sort of musical accompaniment within the building that isn't just the music tracks playing.
I mean, yeah, but could you do it not like it feels like you're diminishing the hype a little bit after a goal, because you get the loud goal horn and then just like do 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 do, and then it's the goal song. That does
That
not
is
add up to me.
Now that is where the Saints go marching in, and they've had it since like the fifth. Like, I think they started in the NHL, so you got to give them some credit on terms of like the
Fair
longevity
enough.
aspect. But also, I gotta say, I miss the organ at Canucks games so much.
Really?
It's such a yeah. It's obviously, it kind of is more of a baseball thing,
Yeah,
really.
that's
But
my gripe with it.
yeah, but I think it's synonymous with hockey at this point. I think I think every other NHL arena has some form of an organ at one way or another. The Canucks just got rid of theirs. And honestly, I think the vibe is not as good without the organ.
Hmm.
I miss it all the time. Like, I'm always thinking especially when I see other teams using them, I'm just thinking to myself, God, I wish the Canucks still had Mike Kenny playing organ music, because it worked. It was great. I miss that. I think it I think
It
it
adds
was
character.
it does. It adds character, and especially because every team's organ doesn't sound exactly the same. Like, I think it adds to
Yeah.
very much a unique vibe, and I miss that. I don't think it's as good when they're just like playing a guitar riff, like soundboard, after the goal announcements and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, I get it, they need to keep their brand together, but the separation, I just don't love it. I just don't love it. I understand the organ to a fault. I think the Oilers have like a marching band thing in their
That's true.
arena, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that recently where I was saying to them how cool it is that they kind of went for the college sports vibe in the
Mm-hmm.
building, which is super different, which is a really good way of kind of trying to separate yourself from, say, someone like Vegas who does like a big whole production for their games, uh but still having your own and but still doing something big that's its own separate thing. I think that idea is super genius. It's just about finding your own niche, you know?
Yeah, yeah. They take one trip to Mullet Arena and they're like, okay, let's just do what they're doing there. Just
Do they have a college band?
I actually don't know. I was just making a joke about the fact
Oh,
that they
fair enough.
play in a college arena.
That's true. That's true.
And yet still the Canucks are the embarrassment of the league.
What a they really worked for it. I'll give them that.
They it's been a race. It might be a race for Bedard, but I think it's truly a race for which team can just get more embarrassing. I think
A mid
Arizona
off.
has a mid off, yes. Arizona kind of has a leg up at the moment. Um, with their minority owner
Oh yeah,
getting arrested.
that whole that fun story.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, hopefully this ends up meaning that he has to sell. I mean, I imagine that's how it's gonna go. I don't think he'll be in chart. He'll have any sort of
I
say in the Coyotes for
I
long.
think because he was suspended indefinitely. I think he has like 5% stake in the
Yeah,
Coyotes anyway, so it's not
it's
like it's
it's super
important.
small.
It's super
Yeah,
small. It's probably like $5 considering how much they spend. Sorry. I keep
yeah,
dunking on the Coyotes. They're not even involved here.
yeah. We're just needlessly dunking on another team.
Might as well, like, we have no nothing to look forward to considering they're playing all their best players into the ground.
I mean, there is the one thing I am looking forward to. I'll say just to bring it to a more positive side of things is, I do want to see Pedersen get to 100 points. That would be really
Yes.
cool. That would
Yes.
be awesome. That is the one thing I'm hoping to see.
That yeah, that is definitely one thing that will be people are looking forward to that. Um what is he at currently? Cuz he got 2 points tonight? 2 or
Um,
3?
he's close. I think he's I'll look it into it, but I mean I mean there I think it's more than within reach for him, without having to go too nuts here. Yeah,
93.
he's at 93. There you go. We found it at the same time. Yeah, it is well within his reach to get there.
Yes. He's going to get there. Just give him a couple more games. Yeah, Quinn Hughes constantly. Actually, this might not even be updated because it still shows Quinn Hughes is having 69 points, which he got up to 71 tonight. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that might be. Oh yeah, you're right. It might be updated for. It'll probably be updated from there, so he'll be even closer. Yeah, you're right because Brock is at 50 as well.
oh, Brock's at 50. Yay! Sorry.
Brock at 50 points.
Yay, good for him. Love
Yeah,
Brock Besser.
he's had a great season for the most part, honestly.
Yeah.
Just hasn't the goal scoring hasn't come for him, but the assist and the playmaking has been uh incredible. He's looked way better on that front.
He's kind of diversified his play a little bit, whereas people knew him before as like more scoring goals and stuff like that, and like, Brock Besser's shot, all that. Like the vintage best whenever he scores a goal when he's like down on his knee. Um, but now I think yeah, the assists are coming to him. Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, he deserved to have a good year on that front after all the arrows he took early on.
Yes, especially. It's good to see him. Hopefully he's still around next season, considering there's always trade rumors about this guy every single year.
That's kind of what comes with the territory of being the the fourth best forward on the team or something like in that area, or
Yeah.
like generally, or like the fourth best player, I should say, on the team, because there's always someone on every team that they have to be willing to part with if a better piece becomes available like for example, for Boston, that was Jake DeBrusk for years. It was just every year, oh, they're going to trade Jake DeBrusk this time? Nope. And then they just never did it. So
He's still there.
he's still there. Exactly. They just never did it. So every team has that one player that is on a not too crazy a contract, is not a complete will not trade player that has to be essentially made available in case you get someone amazing gets offered to you.
Yeah, that was like Chris Kreider for the longest time too.
That's right. That was Chris Kreider. Exactly. Every team's got one. Every team has one. Yeah. It just so happens to be a guy who unfortunately has, over a few times has just not played up to the level that people expect or like we're hoping from him, at least scoring wise. And that has, affected, how much his value is, even though he's a very good player. And I always feel with him that he's going to hit a point where he'll hit that like that next level, and it kind of looks like he has this year to a degree, really.
Yeah, he's definitely looked better this season. Obviously there's been some rough points, but there's been some rough points for arguably every player on the roster except for maybe Elias Pettersson this year. Considering Miller early on until Tocchet shows up, Tocchet was there before Bo got traded, so we're good there. Yep. We're good there. My brain's not losing it.
It does feel like a weird sub area where I think they lined up. I think Horvat and Tocchet were paired up technically for 3 games, and that's it.
Yeah, because Tocchet got hired on the 22nd of January, and then Bo was traded on the 30th of January.
Yeah,
31st?
right before the All-Star.
It was game. Right before the All-Star game, because then he showed up wearing the Isles colors.
They just couldn't wait.
Couldn't wait to get a protected first that they'd trade anyway, and Anthony Beauvillier.
Trade anyway. I'm not ready to get angry about the protected first yet again already. Like
I mean, would it have really mattered considering the Islanders are in a playoff spot? Like, it would have been a low first, but still, it would have been nice. It would have been nice.
It would have been okay. It would have been nice at the very least to wait until the off season to make that move. That's been my biggest gripe with the Hronek deal. Is not so much that they made it all together. It's more about the timing. There wasn't a good reason for them to be buying a top 4 defenseman with 20 games left in the regular season when you are absolutely have no shot at making the playoffs.
And he's injured too. So you have to wait forever.
And at the trade deadline, the price for players is always going to be at its highest point. If you wait until the off season, the prices are going to always go way down because there's no time limit or there's no time crunch to getting a guy onto your roster by a noon deadline or something, right?
Yeah.
So there's a very good chance that they probably could have made that Hronek deal in the off season and gotten it done for cheaper than a protected first, or at the very least, if they did still have to trade the protected first, they would know exactly what it was going to be before trading it, because you didn't know at that time.
You didn't. At that point, I think when they traded it, the Islanders were still in the lower part of the wild card, so they thought the Islanders were going to keep their pick, I think is what the consensus was, and then the Islanders skyrocket after the trade deadline.
Yeah, something along those lines, where or at the very least trading your own second, which you have complete control over where that goes. And it's just a matter of it's just a matter of, even if with Hronek in particular, it's a case of, I think he's going to play. I think he'll end up playing, if he plays for the rest of the season in Vancouver, he'll end up with 12 games as a Canuck, I think is the number he'll end up at, which again is that worth worth paying a trade deadline premium to get for those 12 games?
12 games.
Or would you have been better off just waiting until next season to do, or the off season to do it?
Yeah, because wait, where is he on here? He has 1 point in 3 games.
And you know what? Like, he's been good defensively. He's clearly a very good player. He
Yeah.
had a bad night tonight. He had a very bad
I
night tonight, but
yeah.
I think that was true of a lot of players. And it's clear that there's a lot of talent. He's clearly a very good player. It's just a matter of, again, making the most prudent decision and making choices that are with, and not just making snap decisions when you're a team that's, at the time when they traded for him, fifth last in the NHL.
This team has no idea when to quit, I think. And it's hard to kind of quit when you have Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Quinn Hughes, Andre Kuzmenko, Brock Besser, etc. But at Thatcher Demko, at the same time, Tyler Myers.
Yep.
At the same time, stop. Just stop.
Yeah, again, and as we, and we come full circle to the whole, don't play your guys 20-25 minutes a night in games that don't benefit anybody.
Okay, a little note, Dakota Joshua on the first line, do you think that sticks around?
Again, at this point, why not? Go for it. Try stuff. Like, again, that's what these last few games should be for, is trying some stuff that you would, of course, if you're in a playoff hunt, you would never try in a million years, because you have to have that set idea of, okay, this guy's going to play first, this guy's a first liner, this guy's a second liner. This is the time of year to try some weird stuff, and because you never know what might bear fruit into something long-term, into something great long-term. So Dakota Joshua on the first line, if he looks good there, you might be able to use that down the line. That's the kind of weird thinking that the Canucks should be going for, and that they should be trying to put some time into letting guys like Aiden McDonough, for example, is a great example of, I don't know why, like, I know people were asking specifically about why is Vitaly Kravtsov playing over McDonough. I was thinking to myself, like, why not both? Play both of them. There's really
rest Elias Pettersson.
Maybe not. Well, you know what?
Okay,
With Pettersson, wait until he hits 100 first. Then we can talk about
Miller.
Rest Miller. Yeah, maybe rest one of the top 6 guys, or maybe even just rest one of the AHL guys who's probably going to get sent down before the playoffs. Give one of those guys a night off, play some of the younger kids, and give them opportunities to play more regularly. Because that's kind of what you should be using. Again, that's exactly what you should be using this time for, is giving the guys who might not otherwise get that opportunity in the stretch drive to the playoffs a chance to show that maybe they can be useful at that point.
Yes, and then also Jack Rathbone got sent back to Abbotsford today. So yep. That's another hit on the defense core, considering, we talked about this, the Quinn Hughes average time on ice. Jesus. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Brisebois also looked pretty lousy tonight. It was not a good game for the Brisebois.
But Talkit likes him, so
yeah, I mean, and that's one of the ones that it's a little less egregious for me, because it's a case of, again, this guy's probably not going to be on your NHL team next year. You might as well give him as many minutes as you can give him at the NHL level. Like, go for it. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from of Rathbone playing in NHL games, especially because he looked very good in the games that he was playing. He looked great.
Yes, that is very true. I mean, also to try and help Abbotsford as well, because it took them like 6 games to clinch a playoff spot, even though they were 1 point out the entire time. So, that was a fun era of just every day just getting a tweet. Oh, Abbotsford, if this happens tonight, we clinch a playoff spot, and then you'd get it the next game, and then the next game, and yeah. Is Brisebois the Canucks' Justin Hall?
Oh no, my! I don't know. I do not know enough about Justin Hall to say otherwise.
We don't want that to happen.
So okay, what's the Justin Hall problem? What's that?
He's just like always in the lineup when he probably shouldn't be.
Oh no, yeah. If this were okay, if this were the first 40 games of the season and Breezeball was playing every single night, then yes, he would be. Right now, nah, you're fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
It's totally fine for him to be playing this much right now. It's one of those, well, it was the Luke Shen thing to a degree, where Luke Shen was playing top 4 minutes, playing with Quinn Hughes all the time, and it was fine in a pinch, but it was one of those situations where it was clearly, okay, if you've built your team properly, Luke Shen should not be playing with Quinn Hughes that regularly. He should frankly not be playing every single 82 games a year.
Yeah.
And that was that's where the problem set, and hopefully that will be addressed over time, and they'll fix that over time.
He's becoming the next Morgan Riley of just never having an actual defensive partner.
I mean,
or they keep trading them away, because there was Tanev gone, Shen gone. Now Hronek potentially could be it, but we don't know because there hasn't been them together enough.
And he only has one more year of controllable of team controlled play before he can go to become an RFA. So you never know.
Oh. Well,
yeah, it was cost controlled, I should say. One more year of team cost control.
Yes.
After next year, because I mean, he could sign an offer sheet, but also he can command a lot more in the market at the very least whenever he signs again.
Yes, makes sense. Before we end tonight, I just wanted to ask, so the Canucks do a fan vote for their team awards every year.
Okay.
And the 4 awards, I'm going to read them out. The Cyclone Taylor Trophy, Most Valuable Player, Walter Babe Pratt Trophy for Best Defenseman, Pavel Bure Award for Most Exciting Player, and Fred J. Hume Award for Unsung Hero. Last year, MVP went to Thatcher Demko. Self-explanatory. Best Defenseman, Quinn Hughes. Self-explanatory. Most Exciting Player was JT Miller. Last year, self-explanatory. Unsung Hero was Luke Shen. Who do you think?
That was a good choice.
I mean, yeah, that's who I voted for. So,
I think I did too.
Who do you think gets MVP this year?
I mean, it has to be Pettersson.
Yeah.
It straight up has to be Pettersson. I know there's probably going to be a little bit of a push to make it Kuzmenko because he's fun, because he's a fun
bias.
Boy. But A, recency bias, and B, that's what the exciting player trophy is for.
Yes.
So the MVP is clearly Elias Pettersson. The last couple years I have really pushed hard for Demko because of how much he was bailing them out year after year. But this year, obviously, he didn't play nearly as much, and he was injured and didn't look very good for the beginning of the year. So This is Pettersson's year to win MVP. Finally, any other choice than him would be the wrong choice. It is like just to give you an idea, he is 20 points ahead of the second best score, the second highest score on the team, which is JT Miller. You can't not give it to Pettersson.
And also future captain.
And also future captain Elias Pettersson. There you
potentially.
go.
There seems to be some divide between that and the probable best defenseman vote in Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, there's I mean, I don't know. I think OEL had his moments.
Give it to Breezeball.
I'm sorry. That's kicking a guy while he's down. I shouldn't do that. Give it to Breezeball. Give it to Ethan Bear. Ethan Bear, who did fine for what he's done. For what he's
Could
what
put
he
to
is.
Travis Dermott, who's played 11 games this year.
Oh, poor Travis Dermott.
I miss him.
I forgot he was part of the team until you just said him.
I forget OEL's part of the team because sometimes I find that easier to go about my day.
That is unfortunately a much easier way to live life, is forgetting that contract is there.
Forgetting just like, why do we have, an extra $8 million we have to dedicate to, who's this guy? Oh, right. Him. I also do think the reason Quinn Hughes... Sorry, go ahead.
I could spend ages talking about, okay, this is what you need to do with OEL's contract per se. I think the reason Quinn Hughes... I think the reason Quinn Hughes is playing so many minutes is because OEL's out though too. So
That is a
But
point.
that shouldn't be the
That shouldn't be the
case.
That shouldn't be the case.
Shouldn't, yeah.
Shouldn't be the case, obviously.
Because frankly, the defenses look better without him.
Yes.
I honestly would take Brisebois over OEL at this point.
This team is indefensible.
Which is not good when you're paying a guy $7 million.
Yeah. Most exciting player is obviously gonna be Kuzmenko, considering he beat the guy who the award is named after. He beat his record for most goals in a rookie season. So,
for sure, I think a case, could have been made that it's Pettersson too, to a degree. I think that argument is there for sure. But in terms of but again, the most exciting player is more accurately the fan favorite award, I would say, or at least because they're the unsung hero is cult favorite, and then most exciting is fan favorite, is just general fan favorite.
Yes.
I think Kuzmenko. I think it's got to be Kuzmenko.
Who do you think is the unsung hero? I want to hear your picks before I say mine.
Okay. There have been some really great key performances from some guys who, you might forget are part of the team, or are just, haven't been here for the entire season, either due to injuries or circumstances. But clearly there is one player who really gave the Canucks his all this year and pushed to his limits and did everything he possibly could, which is why I would give the Unsung Hero Award to Bo Horvat for scoring near 40 goals.
Damn it.
For scoring 40 goals and then netting the Canucks Anthony Beauvillier, Aatu Ratu, and a conditional first. It's unsung here. I don't think you can vote for him officially in the award, but that would be if there was a write-in option, which obviously there can't be for something like this. I would. How much do you want to bet it would not take Canucks fans long to go, yes, let's vote for Bo Horvat just to make them give it to him. That
would be so funny. They honor it when the Islanders come here next year. They're just our 2022-23 Unsung Hero Award winner, Bo Horvat. And he's just
God, I do. He's just I don't want this.
Yeah. Unsung hero for this year, it's gonna be difficult, I think. I have 4 choices that I think could either happen.
Please give us a real option now that I've not given one.
Bo Horvat, who knows, it could still happen if they let you write it in, when people were trying to vote Colin Delia into the All-Star game.
Oh, that was beautiful.
That was
absolutely.
So
I was 100% trying to lead a charge on that on getting Colin Delia in there, and they didn't give it to him. Those monsters.
Who cares about Stuart Skinner anyway? He's a stupid mustache, and
he isn't even the bona fide number 1 on his own team. Come on, Colin Delia played 30 games in a row or something along those lines.
We're turning our third stringers into Jacob Markstrom.
Yep. That's the Canuck way.
Yeah. Okay. Unsung hero. Yeah. Ethan Bear, I think, could happen.
Okay.
As a cult, you said it's cult favorite, so I could see that happening. Yeah. I could see Sheldon Dries. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. Sheldon Dries is a good choice.
Sheldon Dries. Dakota Joshua.
Dakota Joshua is awesome. I love watching Dakota Joshua.
I feel like Niels Oman could probably squeeze in there too. But also my number 1, Phil DiGiuseppe.
Oh, that's a good one. DiGiuseppe would be a very good pick. I do wonder about if he's played enough, because how many games has he played this year? He's played 21. He's played 21. That's I think there's an argument to be made that it could be.
There's an argument to be made. I think, I'm gonna start a fan campaign. DiGiuseppe for Unsung Hero.
I think if I were to give a legitimate answer, like rather than Bo Horvat, honestly, it probably would be Anthony Beauvillier.
Oh, right, him.
Who has been good, who has been quite good in the
He
games
has
that he played.
he wasn't on the first line tonight, so he just completely slipped my mind.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, yeah, again, it was one of those. There's time for that later. My concern about what happens if you take Beauvillier off a line that doesn't have Elias Pettersson, what will happen to his scoring output? That's a topic for another day.
It might turn into what Bo Horvat's scoring has become.
Yeah, I mean, but Bo Horvat's playing the most on his team and is playing like the most minutes and just is having the worst puck luck, I think, is the issue.
Yeah.
Plus, he's pushed them to the playoffs without Matt Barzal. You can't really complain. I don't think Islanders fans are complaining about Bo Horvat right now.
They shouldn't be, but they probably are. Really, I have seen people complain, but
yeah, but that's Long Island. That's just Long Island.
What else do they have going for them?
Hey, whoa. Horvat's not scoring over here. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
We did not mean to offend anybody from Long Island, even though we probably did mean to. Anyway, thank you for joining me, Lachlan.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
On that note, we're ending the show. Canucks lost 6-5 in overtime to the St. Louis Blues. Dakota Joshua was a first liner now. Stay safe. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.